Of course, today is the International Youth Day. And we will be having conversation with our youth. It's important, even just from the conversation we had with Victor and Ilaju, youth involvement in democracy, youth involvement in the activities that we have to move towards development. We have this morning joining us Wisdom Bradford himself, a digital space expert. Of course, he is a digital brand strategist. Thank you so much, Wisdom Bradford, for joining us this morning, all the way from the city of Uyo. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very well. How are you doing?
Very fine, thank you. I also have Ime Emmanuel joining me this morning.
Good morning, Victor. Wisdom, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Good morning, Wisdom.
All right, so today is the International Youth Day, and the United Nations is looking at how we can foster development through digital pathways. We know that amidst all that is happening, youths have actually taken their energy onto the digital space. We have people making money, we have people trading, their skills on the digital space. So far, so good. As an expert in that field, how would you say Nigeria is doing in the digital space before we begin to look into the pathways?
Okay, Nigeria is doing averagely well in the digital space. Looking at the figures, Nigeria has a lot of high population, young population, and the internet penetration, social media usage in Nigeria is very high. So looking at Africa at large, Nigeria is one of the best or top countries in the digital space, championing innovation in Africa as Africa is concerned. But when we say globally, I would say average, Nigeria is on the average scale.
So in terms of innovation, we know that we do not have an economic and government climate that supports innovation as Nigerians. So how would you say that, digital innovators, in what ways are you bypassing the bureaucracy of our system to actually search for? Because some of the income that we have recorded in the last 3 to 4 years have been from the digital space. Look at the emergence of content creators and how much earnings are repatriated from that particular stream.
Yeah. So the stuff about Nigeria space, the policies and the rest, people just need to find ways to go around their business online. So the digital space has come to stay. If you look at more traditional companies, the banks, and even you guys there in the studio, you rely on the digital space for most of the works you do. So government policy cannot cut off the digital space fully on one day, because it's going to affect other traditional means of exchange and governance and commerce also for the economy, which will be bad. So for because the policy is changing consistently, it's changing every other time. So we are looking at, okay, how can we boycott? We cannot boycott the system, we cannot boycott policies, but we will still look at a way that we can play in the level field. There are so many ways that young people cannot get earnings from the digital space because of restrictions. Nigeria, bans on Nigeria and other countries are not in friendly environments. So these countries will not allow Nigerians to receive payments and the rest. We heard about the Twitter ban 2 years ago, right? And there are still threats of WhatsApp leaving Nigeria also recently. There are still threats of that. So there's a lot. So we Nigerians, we don't have that ecosystem yet on creating our own solutions, creating the infrastructures. So recently you heard about, maybe last week, that the network was done with. Some people said that maybe it was because of protests. Some people say it was not. Last 2 months, telecommunication companies, they came out and said that their fiber cable was caught in the Red Sea and the rest. But other countries are beginning to use satellites that you don't need any fiber cable again. So you see that the process is already, there's still a far way to go. But we can just use what we have currently and build from there. So most of the things we are building from, we're still using what is available from the global scale, what is available from Europe, from US to build. Most of the data centers where we host our internet, most of them are not hosted in Nigeria. Because if they're hosted in Nigeria, you need 24 power supply and backup power supply to make sure that data center is running, so all websites can be running full. So we are trying our best to say that is just it.
Now, you've made mention of certain policies that the government are talking about. What will you say are the best form of policies that would have helped Nigerians, most especially in the digital space, for us to have an edge over other countries? What will you say are the best policies the government could put in place?
So one of the policies that would be great is trying to implement digital skills or digital literacy into the curriculum from secondary school. It's very important. I know university, they have the bias or stuff that, okay, for some course which you study, you can do some digital courses, and for some course you don't need it. But from the secondary school level, we should look at putting that into the curriculum. And then also for the fundings, we should look at funding more digital creators. There should be grants for people who are creating innovative solutions. There should be grants for that from the government and the rest. And then the third one should be tax. There should be tax reduction for people who are building companies that use digital tools, So if you look at currently now, for example, some platform which we use online, some social media platform, the government is taxing them. So when we are running adverts, maybe we're running adverts to reach you guys now, to reach different people, to sell products. Small business owners are running adverts to sell more of their products online. The government is charging those companies on tax, and those companies is passing those tax to the end users too. So the end users end up paying so much for adverts just to sell their products. So the government should look at reviewing those policies also, so that it can help the small business, because most of the people that use this digital tools very well, they are small business owners. You know how many people who are selling makeup kits, who are selling food, and the rest just with their WhatsApp and their small apps. So that is just it, and it's helping these people make little money to sustain themselves every single day. Youth who just come out of school after their NYSC, there is no job for them. They just get something to do through the digital space. So it should be encouraged. So that is just it.
You made mention of inclusion of this educating people, having this in the curriculum. Do you think we have sufficient experts in the industry, in the space industry, in the digital industry, to really teach children? Let's start from primary school to secondary school, because I remember back then in secondary school, we just did, a scratch, what I would call scratch. You just see identifying parts of the computer. Do you think we have experts in the system that would, and that would teach these children so that they could have like, what is it called now? This is an area of concentration for Nigerians, so that they are not just, it's not like a fallback. This is a career path.
Proper education curriculum.
Yes.
So it's two things here. Number one is the educational system. The educational system, what do people who teach our children every other day? What are they earning? What are the skills level? So if we don't have good teachers in school, we won't have good educators. So the people who also know about these things, like, for example, me now, I'm busy or so I have tax and the rest. You won't expect me to go back to school. Yes, I can do that as a social enterprise. But also, when I need to do that, I can't do that on my own. So I can say, okay, I want to teach 100 teachers before the end of this year. But will the government, if I'm teaching government school teachers, will the government give them the tools? I can't teach them without a laptop. I can't teach them without an internet. The schools there, do they give them good internet service? So every primary or secondary school should have good internet service. When I was in school back then, I studied computer education in university. I went to do teaching practice, and I went to some secondary schools, and they are so bad. There is no computer working. I did teaching practice twice, and the other school there was a computer lab with almost all computers faulty. So how will they learn? So setting up those little things first is the basics. Then giving the teachers, okay, we are going to give you guys, you are the teachers, we are going to give you maybe an extra pay. Come every Saturday and Sunday, weekend trainings. It's part of the HR stuff, HR for learning and development, that will bring experts to teach you guys on your digital skills. So when the teacher know better, they can teach better. Because the real experts may not be able to come to the classroom every other day. You can bring them once in a month, but the teachers will be the one to engage them. So let those facilities be there. Let the internet connections be there. Then train the teachers on the skills. Put them on the program to train them and retrain them. You don't just train once. You train and you retrain. You train and you retrain. You train and you retrain. It should be an ongoing process. And then you should influence the youth. It's not about making the youth just being economically stable, because we know about this stuff that, oh, if people are very good with their finance, they will not send the government again. But that's not it. Nigeria need to compete on a global level. And with that, the young people who are growing up should be able to know what skills they have to compete.
Yeah.
Why I laughed, I saw it tweet last 2 weeks when the network was unstable, and the tweet said that this is the internet network I am trying to use to be globally relevant, to compete with people on a global scale. And it was funny. Internet network that you cannot use to send a mail, and you're trying to use it to compete with your mates in Japan who are trying to use 6G at this level. From reports, there is no 5G in Uyo, in Akwa Ibom State. We have just 4G, and if 4G is messing up, we are using 3G, which is like 2G. The Android and Symbian phone then.
Yes.
So there's no 5G in Uyo. I am looking for more internet space. I'm looking at all the telecommunication over the past weekend, and I've been looking at the coverage. No 5G in Akwa Ibom State, and I don't know when it's going to come in. We bought different routers, but no 5G coverage. So those are the things that governments need to be looking at. Okay, how do 5G come into our states?
These are really serious concerns. These are really serious concerns, and Bradford. I like the path of education that you're talking about. For if we are going to gear towards sustainable development, we must be willing to train. And for education in Nigeria, we are off the path of making the next generation ready on a global scale. Even in the normal education, not to talk of the ICT. But there's something that you raised earlier on that I want to take your mind back to. Now, there are threats of taking out apps like WhatsApp and the likes. Now, I know that in the Nigerian digital space, we have people that can actually develop apps such as WhatsApp for it to work. Why are we not having such innovations come up within the country and take prevalence? Because, for instance, now, WhatsApp is generating funds, into the international space. It's not funds that are generated and circulated in Nigeria. So why don't we have communication apps for ourselves? I've seen some countries actually move, to ban the use of Facebook and the like. There are certain countries that don't use it. In Asia, in the Asian.
China don't use Facebook. China don't use Google, China don't use WhatsApp. Russia don't use. They create their own stuff. But the fact is that if we have infrastructure first, without infrastructure you can't build. If you are building without infrastructure, you are already taking this stuff. You are already building for them. For example, almost everybody who have a website are using Google infrastructure. Google are the one hosting them. Google are the one. So we don't have hosting space in Nigeria because where is the electricity to keep it running for 24 hours? And backed up. We don't have the high speed. I'm talking about 5G and 6G. Where is the 5G and 6G? How will you receive data and send data over the online? So you are going to host it there. We don't have the funding. The government are not ready to fund people to fail. Before you can, so this conversation is so broad. I was talking about, okay, Nigerians, we are trying to build the next fintech, the next payment company. But now we are in the age of AI. No African country is even in the scratch of starting an AI. They are on consuming level. So that means the European Union, Americas, they are building the next best thing, and Africans are consuming them. So it's a long journey. So the infrastructure, government should be able to fund startups to fail. No, you are not just dashing the money. You should be able to fund research and development. Where are the universities? Where are the professors? Why are the professors not bringing new research and development into the space? PhD is not just for PhD. PhD is for research and development to bring the next best thing. So those people should be in space, should talk to governments, should bring the best students, should bring new research, should go deep into research and start something up. When governments fund something to fail, they are funding the next one that will start up and be the best, that will compete globally. If they cannot fund it to fail, if they are trying to keep it calm and keep it cool, that means they will only fund what is already developed. And what is already developed is something that has been tested and is already facing out in first world nations. So first world countries are now the one funding startups in Nigeria. You say that you see a company in Nigeria, we say that, oh, we receive funding from this company, we receive funding from Visa, we receive funding from Microsoft and the rest. And the whole big deal is that these companies can decide that we have this conversation that, Africans are failing and the rest, but nobody is thinking about it. You know, when a company funds another company, they can decide if that company will succeed or fail. A monopoly can decide that a company will succeed or fail. Maybe I am a big company and I don't want anybody to compete with me. And I see somebody who is doing something creative and innovative. I will fund the person, control the board. And when the person is doing too much, I say, don't do that again. I will sack the CEO and the rest. I can control what is growth in that level. So if we can't control who is funding the space and we knowing their motive of funding, then there will be no progress. This is conversation people don't have. People say startups die in Africa and the rest. I say, first of all, who is funding them? People are funding that are funding them. Are they complaining? What is the motive of them funding them? Are they funding them to make sure that they don't grow to compete with the global standard of who is first world and who is the world power? This is a tough conversation. So
really tough conversations, I must say.
Yeah, Wisdom. I want us to channel this conversation towards because this conversation will not be complete without us talking about the youth that are using this internet space for something fraudulent. We have a lot of Nigerian youth involved on the space. Clicking, the theme of this year is from clicking to progress. A lot of Nigerian youth who have found themselves using the internet are now using it as a means of fraudulent activities. I want you to, throw some light on that aspect. How can we,
literally click to progress?
Click to progress and, change the mind of these youth that are using the internet fraudulently into bringing something positive for the country.
Okay, so my thoughts on this is simple and is always what I stand with. Tools will remain tools. Tools will remain. Tools will be used based on the individual. A car can be used to rob, and a car can be used for transportation. A knife can be used to cut, and a knife can be used as a weapon. So tools remain tools. So it boils down to the value system of the society and the nation. What is our value as a nation? If people at the top are stealing, then don't expect people at the bottom to be all good. It comes down to value. That is why I'm first a brand person and then a digital person, because in branding, there is what we call value. The value of a character, the behavior. What are the value system? If we can teach people of good value, then they will pick up a tools and build with them with good value. They will build good value. They will say that, no, I will never do this thing, because they believe that doing that thing will hurt their progress, will hurt other people, will hurt the vision of a better tomorrow. So it's a collective value as a nation, collective value as a society, collective value as a state, collective value as a family, collective value as an individual. When we build a person with a good value system, they pick any tools and they go in there with progress. So it starts first from the individual, from the family, then the society, the community, the state, and the country. What is the vision of Nigeria?
Wow, it's been such a great conversation, and I'll want you in a few seconds to wrap this up. as a nation, you know, how can we actually pitch the digital space to our advantage? Because we are looking at, you know, clicking to progress, digital pathways for sustainable development. What would be your one advice to youths listening to you this morning all over the world? What would you say that, in what ways can we take advantage for sustainable development?
Okay, so my advice is simple. Everybody should use the digital space. Digital space is a tool. So whether you are a doctor, you are a farmer, you are a nurse, you are an educator, you are a real estate person, whatever you do, whatever you study in school, use the internet to your advantage. The internet should be an added ingredient, should be a spice to what you do. Don't go and focus on the internet and say, I want to do internet business. No, take what you have and join it with the internet. Don't say the internet is the only thing. Take what you have, join it with the internet. Let there be edu tech, let there be med tech, let there be agri tech, let there be every tech, fashion tech. Take what you have, join the internet to make it global. Build something that people will be able to buy, consume, and take value from. Even if you are teaching them how to do fashion better, how to do health better, how to live better, people will not be so sick and living miserable if health people will now take their health and take those information online and do better things there. So everybody should take what they know. What are the things that your mother used to do? If your mother is selling akara and the rest, take what your mother is doing, teach other people how to do healthy akara, but do it online.
Wow.
Do it digitally. Take it there. Tech, everything plus tech. Tech is an advantage. Tech should not be on. So no youth, no young person should run and say, I want to do tech. Where should I start from in tech? No. Take what you have, bring tech together, merge it, and blow it up. Create something of value that people will consume.
Wow, thank you so much. So we all must not become coders, because I've been thinking like
coding.
It's a woman in technology. I don't have to become. Thank you so much, Wisdom Bradford. There's been a lot of wisdom that has come up from our conversation with you this morning to mark the International Youth Day. We do hope that just as social investment, you can also find the time to educate, you know, the rest of us on how to take advantage of the social media and digital space. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Wisdom Bradford.
Thank you so much, Victor.